I am livid right now. And if you're not absolutely furious about what Jacob Fatu did to Cody Rhodes, then you weren't paying attention. What we witnessed wasn't wrestling, it was an assassination attempt. Jacob Fatu didn't just attack Cody Rhodes. He didn't just beat him down. He systematically destroyed the undisputed WWE champion in a way that should have everyone questioning whether this man should even be allowed in a wrestling ring anymore. Cody Rhodes is in the hospital right now, and WWE is treating this like just another storyline. Are you kidding me? This crossed every line imaginable, and I'm about to break down exactly why what Jacob Fatu did was the most disgusting, vile, and unforgivable act in modern wrestling history. If you're a Bloodline fan still defending this, you need to hear what I'm about to say. Comment below if you think Fatu went too far, and share this with everyone who needs to understand the severity of what just happened. But listen, before I dive into this absolute nightmare that unfolded, I need you to subscribe to Ring Rumble 1 and turn on those notifications right now. Why? Because this channel is the only place giving you the raw, uncut truth about what's really happening in professional wrestling. We don't sugarcoat. We don't make excuses. We call it exactly like we see it, and what I'm about to expose about Jacob Fatu's attack on Cody Rhodes is something the mainstream wrestling media is too scared to fully address. So hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and let's get into why Jacob Fatu might have just committed career suicide with what he did to the face of WWE. Every single person who cares about wrestling needs to be subscribed to this channel. Do it now. Let me take you through what happened, step by horrifying step, because the full picture of this attack is even worse than the highlights show. This wasn't a random backstage brawl. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment confrontation. This was premeditated. This was calculated. And this was absolutely brutal in ways that made me physically uncomfortable watching it. It started innocently enough. Cody Rhodes was doing a backstage interview, talking about his upcoming title defense, being the professional champion he's always been. And out of nowhere, and I mean this came out of absolutely nowhere, Jacob Fatu blindsided him with a superkick that could have decapitated a normal human being. Cody went down hard. His head bounced off the concrete floor. And that should have been enough. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't even the beginning. Jacob Fatu looked down at Cody Rhodes lying there, barely conscious, and what did he do? Did he walk away? Did he stand over him and talk trash? No. He picked Cody up and launched him headfirst into a steel production crate. The sound of Cody's skull connecting with that metal is something I'm going to hear in my nightmares for weeks. And Cody crumpled like a rag doll. Anyone with half a brain would have stopped there. But not Jacob Fatu. Not the Samoan werewolf. Not the Bloodline's most dangerous weapon. What came next was systematically dismantling Cody Rhodes piece by piece. Fatu dragged Cody's limp body across the concrete and started hitting him with hip attacks against the wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive hip attacks, each one driving Cody's body into solid concrete with the full force of a 260-pound monster behind it. Cody's ribs had to be shattered. His internal organs had to be screaming. And you could see it in Cody's face. This wasn't selling, this was genuine agony. WWE officials tried to intervene. Multiple referees, road agents, producers, they all tried to pull Fatu off. And what did he do? He shoved them away like they were children. He was possessed. There was something in Jacob Fatu's eyes that went beyond kayfabe, beyond storytelling, beyond working the audience. The hood completely caved in from the impact. The car alarm started blaring. And Cody Rhodes laid there motionless. Completely motionless. His eyes were glazed over. He wasn't moving his arms or legs. And for a terrifying moment, everyone watching, in the arena, backstage, and at home, thought we had just witnessed something catastrophic. But Jacob Fatu still wasn't done. He climbed onto the car, pulled Cody's barely conscious body up with him, and hit a moonsault off the roof of the vehicle, crashing both of them through the windshield and into the front seats of the car. Glass everywhere. Blood everywhere. Two human beings who just subjected themselves to potentially career-ending, potentially life-ending trauma for what? For a wrestling angle. For a storyline. At what point does this stop being entertainment and start being genuine endangerment? The medical staff finally got to Cody, and what we saw was terrifying. Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion, the man who finished his story, the face of the company, being loaded onto a stretcher with a neck brace, oxygen mask, the works. Reports from backstage say he was coughing up blood. He had lacerations all over his body from the glass. Possible concussion. Possible broken ribs. Possible internal bleeding. This man might have died in that parking lot, and WWE wants us to tune in next week to see what happens next. Are you kidding me? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This is wrestling. This is what happens. These guys know what they signed up for. And to that I say, absolutely not. There is a difference between hard-hitting, physical wrestling and what Jacob Fatu did to Cody Rhodes. There are unwritten rules in this business. There are lines you don't cross. And Fatu didn't just cross those lines, he obliterated them, set them on fire, and danced on the ashes. Let me put this in perspective for those who might not fully grasp the severity of what happened. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart had one of the most violent feuds in WWE history. The submission match at WrestleMania 13 is legendary for its brutality. But even in that match, there was psychology. There was storytelling. There was a purpose to every moment of violence. What Jacob Fatu did to Cody Rhodes had no psychology. It was just unrestrained, uncontrolled violence for violence's sake. The Undertaker threw Mankind off the Hell in a Cell in 1998, one of the most dangerous moments in wrestling history. But that was one spot in a match with consequences that both men understood and accepted. What Jacob Fatu did was 20 minutes of continuous assault that escalated to the point where medical professionals genuinely feared for Cody's life. And here's what makes me absolutely furious about this whole situation. The bloodline is going to face zero consequences for this. You know how I know. Because WWE has spent the last 3 years conditioning us to accept that the bloodline plays by different rules. They interfere in matches constantly, no consequences. They attack people backstage, no consequences. They've created an environment of fear and intimidation, no consequences. T-shirts. And the worst part, the absolute worst part of all of this, is that there are fans online right now celebrating what Jacob Fatu did. Calling it, the greatest heel work in years. Praising him for his intensity and commitment to character. Acting like nearly ending someone's career is something to be applauded because it felt real. Let me be crystal clear about something, there is nothing to celebrate here. If Cody Rhodes has long-term health issues from this attack, if he develops chronic pain or neurological problems or has to retire earlier than planned because of the damage Jacob Fatu inflicted on his body, what then? Are we still going to be praising Fatu's heel work? Are we still going to be saying this was great for business? The cognitive dissonance in wrestling fandom is staggering sometimes. We claim to care about wrestler safety. We say we want performers to have long, healthy careers. We get upset when wrestlers die young or suffer from long-term health issues related to their time in the ring. But then something like this happens, and half the fanbase treats it like the greatest thing they've ever seen because it gave them an adrenaline rush for 20 minutes. Make it make sense. I'm begging you to make it make sense. And let's talk about WWE's responsibility in all of this. They created Jacob Fatu's character. They booked him as an unstoppable monster. They gave him the platform and the freedom to do what he did. And when he took it too far, and make no mistake, he took it miles too far, where were the authority figures? Where was Adam Pearce? Where was Triple H? Where was anyone with the power to stop this before it became life-threatening? The answer is they were nowhere, because WWE wanted this to happen. They wanted the viral moments. They wanted the social media buzz. They wanted people like me making videos about how Jacob Fatu crossed the line, because that's engagement. That's content. That's what keeps people talking about WWE in an era where attention is the most valuable currency. But at what cost? At what point does the pursuit of viral moments and shocking content become irresponsible? At what point do we as fans have to say, enough is enough, this isn't what we want to see? I'll tell you my answer. That point was 20 minutes ago when Jacob Fatu started his assault on Cody Rhodes and didn't stop until the champion was being loaded into an ambulance. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Some people are going to say this is all a work. That Cody is fine. That everything was carefully choreographed and safe and we're all getting worked into a shoot, brother. And you know what? Maybe that's true. Maybe Cody Rhodes will show up next week with a few bandages and cut a fiery promo about getting revenge. Maybe this will all be forgotten in a month when the next big angle starts. But even if that's the case, even if this is 100% a work and everyone is perfectly safe, it still crosses a line. Because there are young, impressionable fans watching this. There are independent wrestlers who see WWE performers doing this stuff and think, that's what I need to do to stand out. There are consequences to presenting violence this extreme and this realistic as entertainment, regardless of whether anyone actually got hurt. So here's my final word on Jacob Fatu's attack on Cody Rhodes: this was too far. This was beyond acceptable. This was a moment that should make everyone involved in WWE stop and think about what kind of product they're presenting and what message they're sending. Cody Rhodes deserves better than to be a prop in someone else's psychotic character work. Wrestling deserves better than to be defined by who can create the most disturbing violent content. And we as fans deserve better than to have our intelligence insulted by being told this is just good storytelling. Comment below with your thoughts. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear this perspective. And subscribe to Ring Rumble 1 because we're never going to stop demanding better from this industry. I'll see you in the next one.